So what we now need to do is to create the Turnitin assessment upload area, which is also where Turnitin accepts the documentation and starts doing its magic for plagiarism detection in the background once we've got all the submissions in there. What we now need to do, instead of building new content, what we're actually doing is adding an assessment into here. So you hover over assessment, and the bottom one available is Turnitin assignment, which is what we need. You then get an assessment type. They're all a paper assessment, so you can just click next straight away, so next step. And we then get presented with a sort of general screen about what Turnitin wants to know about general information with regard to this submission. Again, going back to my Word document where I've generated some sort of standard texts, this is the sort of thing we need to be putting in here, which is the module code. It's the TCA upload area, and it would help if we put in there towards the end of it the due date. So I've got 6 o'clock on the 4th of May 2020. So I've copied that and I paste it into there, and that's the title sorted. You need to put a point value. They're always 100, so we just put 100 straight in there. And then you set the start and end dates. So the start date, again, we can drop down the boxes and put 4th of May. And we know that the start date for this assessment is 1:30 p.m. So if we deal with that and put 1:30, that's that sorted. And from our original spreadsheet, we know that a 3-hour exam needs to end in my college at 6 p.m. It needs to be on the same day, so we need to change the date to the 4th of May. And we need to change that to 6. Zero's right at the top of the list, 6 p.m. We then need to identify post date. What post date means is the date at which students get this information back in terms of marking. For exams, which these are, effectively that doesn't happen because they get their feedback at the point at which we return the marks after the board date. So I happen to know the week of my board, so all I'm going to put in there, and what I suggest everybody puts in there, is the week after the board date. Our board's in the week of the 22nd of June. So what I'm actually going to do there is I'm going to move that forward to the 29th of June and put the post date of the 29th of June. That's when students effectively will see that mark come back, but they've already had their marks released. The next thing to do is to add the optional settings. The optional settings are bits of information that our students can see, that our students can't see, but it tells the Turnitin how this will operate. I do think it's worth putting a bit of a rubric in there, some commentary that tells students some more instructions about how to upload. And again, I've done this automatically previously in my template, so I'm going to copy that and put that in here. You will note in here that in my school we typically have this comment of, by submitting work here, you are acknowledging the work submitted is your own work. It helps us down the line with academic offences if we identify a statement along that line. So that's pretty much the only thing we need to put in terms of instruction. Allow submissions after the due date should be no. They won't be able to do it anyway because it'll disappear at the point at which we set this date here, the due date. It actually sets this by that, and we can basically say no, don't do that. We don't want any late submissions. Generate the similarity reports for submissions should be yes, they should. When should be on the due date. We don't want Turnitin spending an awful lot of time doing things in advance because there's no real point. The exclude bibliographic material should be no. The exclude small sources is a setting that should also be no. We've been standard across the institution with regard to these. Allow students to see similarity reports, again, should be no. We don't want them seeing these similarity reports. And reveal grades to students only on the due date, on the post date, should be set to yes. Enable anonymous marking is no, and then pretty much you can select where you want Turnitin to compare this work against and pretty much tick everything. And we've then got pretty much everything we would like to be set appropriately. So I'll go through those settings again. Allow submissions after the date, no. Generate similarity reports, yes. Generate similarity reports on the due date. Exclude bibliographic materials is no. Exclude quoted materials is no. Exclude small sources is no. Exclude students, allow students to see the similarity report is no. Reveal grades only on the post date should be yes. And enable anonymous marking should be no. You can then click submit. you do get this error message that says you've set a post date more than 2 weeks late. It's basically saying you're taking a long time to get the feedback right, but that is exactly what we want, so you can just click OK. That will then click Aware, and you get an error. You get a message that says, I've now completed this upload. Thank you very much. You can click OK on the right-hand side, and you will then transported back to the assessments area, where we now have a Turnitin upload area that, as you can see from the title, has got a due 1800 on the 4th of May, gives students a view of what that is, and this will not be available to be visible until the 4th of May 2020. That concludes pretty much how we set up a normal standard assessment, in this case a time-constrained assessment. I will, however, do another one and talk you through the processes for setting up what we call the learning support time-constrained assessments, and I'll do that next.